Okay, well, hello everybody, let's get started. My sincere apologies, the flight got 90 minutes delayed last night and towards the end they just cancelled the flight, so unfortunately I couldn't be with you today. Just to give you a bit of background about myself, my name is Sonia and I'm the BIM strategy manager for High Speed 2. I've been with them since April 2015 and we've been focusing on implementing BIM, building information modelling, as a response to the government's mandate. Before I, sorry, can you go to the next slide? Before I start talking about BIM, let me tell you a little bit about the HS2 and the project itself. HS2's vision is to be a catalyst for growth across the UK. We aim to do more than just build and operate a railway. We want to connect cities and towns so they can grow and thrive, giving people greater opportunities than the rest of the country, and the UK as a whole is less productive than countries like Germany. So travel between the biggest centres of the population in the UK is very difficult, it takes too long, and this means that people are less willing to travel for business or leisure, and it is very difficult to business to trade with each other. Right, you're on the right slide, great. So as I said, we want to connect the UK's biggest population centres. So High Speed 1 is from France to London, and High Speed 2, which is the second phase of the project, it'll be high speed that will connect London to Birmingham from 2026, and then a longer Y-shaped route, as you can see, to Crewe in Manchester in the west and Sheffield and Leeds in the east from 2033. There will be a capacity for up to 12 or 14 trains per hour in each direction when phase 1 opens, rising to 18 when phase 2 opens. HS2 will provide ultra-fast regular connections between major destinations, which can carry up to 300,000 people every day. So people and businesses will be able to work and trade with each other more easily. Okay, could you go to the next slide, please? Just to give you a feel of the overall scale of the programme and the challenges ahead, here are a few headlines and some stats about the assets we are gathering information on. This is for phase 1 only, and pretty well, you know, we are pretty well constrained to big civils engineering features. As you can see, we've got 400 bridging structures, 140 embankments, 20 tunnels, 4 stations, 5 depots, and over 9,000 ground investigations. Okay, next slide, please. So what you see on the screen now is HS2's vision for BIM. Not only we want to be a catalyst for growth, but also we want to be world-class in project delivery and how we operate and maintain our network. In order for us to be world-class, we need to be good at managing and maintaining our assets, and therefore the need for the right information at the right time for the right people to make the right decisions become very important. Next slide, please. Some of you may be familiar with the government's mandate on BIM. So one of the key drivers for us in HS2 to adopt BIM is the benefits and the aspirations that's been set out in the UK's government's construction strategy, which promise improved project delivery, reduced delivery time, cost, and carbon footprint. We don't want to do BIM only because it's a government mandate, but also because we have realised benefits, which I will cover in the next few slides. Next slide, please. Again, some of you may have seen this. This is a diagram that's been produced by the UK government. It highlights the different levels of maturity that's been identified in the strategy. Currently, we have levels of maturity, and the strategy published in 2011 states that all centrally funded projects must be BIM level 2 compliant by April 2016, which we're not far from. For us in HS2, I don't know if you can see the red line, but the BIM, that's BIM level 2. We are aiming to achieve BIM level 2 capability and beyond. Again, just to give you a bit of background, BIM level 2 has been defined by the government based on 8 different standards and protocols. And if you are interested, I'm happy to kind of talk around them later on. Okay, next slide, please. This is just an image. This is, we call it a rich picture, which demonstrates our BIM vision and aspiration. It highlights all the things we want to do and achieve through BIM. It's not very clear, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in into the, some of the different sections of it to, again, try and explain and paint the picture of where we are going with BIM. Okay, next slide, please. So one of the things we want to do with BIM is we want to leave a digital legacy by producing and delivering an integrated digital model, which is basically our virtual railway that joins up all the necessary data which can be interrogated for different purposes using cutting-edge technology. Next slide, please. We recognize BIM as a unique opportunity for innovation, job creation, and working closely, and we are working closely with the government's BIM task group and some of the professional institutions to set new standards in infrastructure delivery and have a positive impact on UK's education and growth. Next slide, please. We realize the potential BIM has to drive the industry towards big data, Internet of Things, and smart cities using innovation and open data standards. Next slide, please. This is the, so I mentioned benefits earlier on. So this is one of the things we've done. So by achieving our vision, we can realize the benefits that's been set out in the government strategy. But we've also identified a set of benefits ourselves for different stages of the project. We have undertaken a benefits mapping exercise, which you can see in the corner. I know it's not very clear, it's such a complex diagram as well, to map out some of the key benefits and identifying the capabilities that's required to realize these benefits. So for example, as you can see, one of the benefits that we have identified is reducing construction cost, so decreasing capital delivery cost. In order for us to achieve that, we need to make sure that we have the right capabilities. And if you kind of follow that thread, it kind of says that, well, one of the things we can do is to reduce the materials used in construction. In order for us to do that, we need to make sure we have optimized the amount of prefabrication. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we have trust in the information model that's been produced during design and construction. Then, therefore, quality checking becomes very important and having access to the right tools by the right skilled staff. So this is how we are trying to make sure that we are achieving all the benefits by putting the right capabilities in place. Next slide, please. So I've talked a lot about BIM, but what does it actually mean to HS2? Because BIM is such a new and wide concept, it has been defined in different ways by different people in the industry. To us, BIM is more than just technology. There's been so much emphasis on 3D modeling and technology aspect of BIM, which is not wrong, but to us it's just one aspect of it. And the whole purpose of this diagram is to try and communicate that BIM is a process that gets applied throughout the whole project lifecycle. And it's made of use, share and manage data, and how we communicate our data specification to the supply chain through our contract documents. This way of this approach creates consistency across the program, so we make sure that everything, all the information that's been produced is being produced in the same way, and this way we can then also assess the capability of our supply chain. And on the right side, you've got the information modeling, which is the technology aspect of it. So it's the use of technology to exploit data to meet our requirements in smarter and improved ways. This then creates innovation and better value. So information modeling and management need to come hand in hand, and the resulting information model that you get from it during construction, design, and also operations and maintenance supports decision making about an asset throughout its life cycle. But it's only when you've got the right set of processes using the right technologies that you get the governance and the reliability and the assurance that you need in the data. Next slide, please. I've just put a few different slides in here just to kind of, again, highlight the different uses of BIM and how it fits into HS2. So as you can see, BIM will ultimately support the quality of the railway, quality of experience, and quality of the business. And this is during design construction. So it's got different purposes during different stages. And if you go to the next slide, it kind of shows that through design and construction, the model-based engineering, the innovation, the health and safety, risk mitigation, the quality of the railway, it's all designed, and that's what gives us the overall quality of the railway itself. Next slide, please. So through to a quality experience in operations and maintenance, and data handover, a fixed asset register, operations and data management systems. And the next slide, which is the last slide, is to the use of BIM in cost estimating and schedule visualization. Yeah, so this is how BIM fits into the wider business, and we can use it to visualize and simulate cost and program scheduling. Okay, next slide, please. This slide just kind of shows that we have commitment from senior management and leadership, and there is very high expectations on us to deliver BIM. As you can see, the CEO of HS2 is recognized the importance of BIM, and he basically reckons that BIM will form the information backbone of HS2. Okay, next slide, please. And if you could play the video, that would be great, thank you. This is just a short fly-through that shows the route from London to Birmingham, developed by one of our consultants. The video demonstrates that we are on an exciting journey towards implementing BIM earlier than other projects on a very large scale and a complex infrastructure project. To date, through the use of BIM standards, methods and protocols, all the disciplines involved in engineering, environment and land referencing have produced, coordinated, shared and managed information consistently. The complex information flows and the data transformations would have not been possible without this structured and standardized approach to data creation and management. It has enabled us to meet our transparency objectives as well, because we are obliged to make this data available publicly. So as you can see, the resulting information models has enabled us to do better stakeholder engagement through the use of 3D visualization and intelligent mapping products, which have been used to better inform members of the public. And we are also using this information to inform the members of the select committee on a daily basis. One of the project directors commented that it would have not been possible to deliver HS2 for the hybrid build stage in such a short period of time without the implementation of this approach. And this is the Birmingham station, which currently, as I said, still in design stages. Great. Can we go to the next slide, please? Apologies again, I know this diagram is not very clear, but the whole purpose of this diagram is to show our commitment to the government's mandates. We have developed a BIM strategy based on the construction strategy. We've also got an implementation plan and a roadmap in place, which all kind of feeds into our contractual requirements. So we have a document called an Employees Information Requirements, which highlights all our data specification. And as a response to that, we expect the supply chain to produce a plan called the BIM execution plan. This is again to make sure we have consistency across our supply chain and that all our requirements have been cascaded down all the way through tier 2s, tier 3s and smaller companies. We are working very, as I mentioned earlier, we are working very closely with professional institutions to ensure that we can further develop BIM standards. So it's through the strategy, the requirements and the BIM execution plan that we get good quality data for our design and construction. Okay, next slide, please. This is a diagram that, again, sort of shows the architecture for BIM. So this is the way we are trying to implement BIM internally within HS2. This will inform and guide the development of our BIM capabilities. So we call it the 10-box model, which divides into detailed capabilities that are further described by a series of business requirements. It identifies the core capability elements covering people, organization, process, technology, and information, which also includes culture. I think we've identified culture to be as one of the key areas. Values and behaviors, and also what we need to have in place. So we've identified these areas to be the key areas that we need to have in place in order to have a successful operation of BIM. Next slide, please. So currently, we are reviewing and refining our BIM strategy. We are developing our capability model and finalizing our roadmap and our immediate implementation plan, which kind of highlights the plans over the next 2 years. We are also looking at data requirements. What do we need to have in place? What do we have now? How do we need to manage it? What will a common data environment look like? How will we gather the right data from the supply chain? What do we need to define in our contracts to achieve required? Next slide, please. Again, this is such a complicated diagram, and I apologize that it's not very clear. This is just basically a map of all our requirements and how they all fit in together. I can share a copy of this presentation after the presentation, and obviously if there was any other questions, I'm happy to take them. And the last slide, which is the next slide, please, is pretty much just a summary of what I said. We are committed to a world-class implementation of BIM, not only information modeling, but also information management, because we believe information management efficiency is also important. We want to make sure we have a consistent data-driven approach to management of project information. We want to make sure that information is structured in such a way that it can be efficiently shared and reused. Assurances and validation of the integrity and completeness of the design and construction data, and a validated and verified information model that we can then use for operational and maintenance of the railway. And I think that's it. Yes, I think the next slide is the last slide. Apologize, I went through that quite quickly. It would have been better if I was there myself, so I can also take any questions, but I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Oh, Sonia, I have one question about BIM deployment plan. How you utilize it through phases? For example, is one detailing level for BIM model in brief stage, designs, conceptual design, then design, main design, and of course as built model. Do you prepare separate specifications for each of a stage for BIM model elements, or how you deal with that?
Okay, right. The short answer to that would be no. So if I try and explain, what we're trying to do is, as I said earlier, we want to make sure we have consistency across the program. So it doesn't matter what stage of the project we are at, the specification for data and the requirements for information would be exactly the same. The only thing that might differ is the use of the model. So if you're doing design, or if you're at detailed design and want to use the model, for instance, for 4D or 5D aspect of it, then we might have extra requirements which would then be added on. So that employees information requirements that I mentioned earlier, that's our document, that's our template, which sets out all the data specification. So that would be 80% similar across the whole program. That 20% that might differ is, again, it's the use of the model. So that 20% might differ from stage to stage. We are trying to keep it as consistent as we possibly can, because we need to make sure the data that's been produced is in a way that's aligned to our asset management system, so then we can use it further down the line when we get to operations and maintenance.
I had one simple more question about involvement of a model element. For example, railway, I don't know, just main field is railways design, if I understand correct. Some kind of element, it's life through phases. You create, separate, or enhance the same element. For example, add properties, or just create new, more detailed in the later stage of design.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, yeah. So if you're talking about the level of detail,
yes,
then yes, we do. We have got a 3D modeling standard, which clearly talks about the different levels of detail and the different levels of information that we require at every stage. So that's aligned to the industry standard. Well, it's not a British standard yet, but it's a publicly available specification, PAS 1192. So there is some guidance in there, and we have aligned our standard to that, again, just to make sure we are aligned to the rest of the industry. That standard talks about the different elements and the different levels of detail and the different levels of development that's required at every stage.
Thank you.
Ar dar turite klausimų? So Sonia, there are no more questions. There is one. Okay, one more quick question.
Okay, sure.
Hello, Sonia. Have you learned something from Crossrail?
Hi. Yes, we are working very closely with Crossrail, Network Rail and Transport for London. We have set up working groups which we do a bit of knowledge sharing.